NoDQ.com.
Greetings to everyone out there in the NoDQ galaxy. Welcome to NoDQ video here on NoDQ.com and the YouTube channel, youtube.com/AaronRift_NoDQ. I have your questions from twitter.com/AaronRift. So let's go ahead and get started. First one today comes from Daza. Why do fans boo Roman Reigns and Charlotte when it is the booking and not the wrestlers? Because the fans have to protest one way or another, and if they're not happy with a certain superstar being pushed, then the fans are going to express themselves. If they feel that somebody is being forced on them, they are going to react accordingly. I've said this before many times over the years, and the same thing applies to John Cena. The fans do not dislike John Cena as a person or dislike Roman Reigns as a person. It's the character, and it's the character being shoved down their throats. I can tell you this, if Roman Reigns actually turned heel and changed his character, the fans would get behind him, and that has, for a long time, same thing with John Cena, that has been the argument as to why they should not turn, because the fans that are booing them will all of a sudden cheer them. It's not a matter of the fans not liking the guys or disrespecting the guys. It's just the fans being frustrated with the company, and they are the paying customers, and they do have the right to boo or cheer anybody that they want at the end of the day. But I don't really see it as disrespecting the wrestlers directly. And if you're somebody like Roman Reigns, it's just something that comes with the territory. If you're signed up for WWE, you have to be able to be thick-skinned and deal with fans being negative towards you. You might not always get the respect from the fans, whether you feel you deserve it or not. In Roman Reigns' case, he's going out there, he's doing his job, and he's making good money. And at the end of the day, that's a big deal. Got this one here from Resident Sleeper 22. On SmackDown, it was clear that WWE was once again trying to establish Becky as a heel, but the fans absolutely love her. Shouldn't WWE try and figure out why Charlotte isn't getting cheered instead of why Becky isn't getting booed? Isn't that the bigger problem here? The thing about Charlotte and Becky Lynch is that WWE has a plan of what they want to do, and at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter what the fans think. And I hate to say this, again, WWE is a business first and foremost, and pleasing the fans at this point is secondary, and we are in a totally different era now where WWE really doesn't need to listen to those vocal fans. WWE can put whatever they want on television, push anybody they want, turn anybody they want, basically do anything. The shows are more or less written for Vince McMahon and what he wants. If Vince wants Becky Lynch as a heel, Becky Lynch is a heel. If Vince wants Charlotte as a face, Charlotte is a face. It's what Vince wants, and as long as WWE is making money, it will continue to be what Vince wants. The buck stops with Vince. And if you don't like it, you don't have to watch. But of course, that argument is just so narrow-minded. It's such a deeper issue here. You have fans that have been committed to WWE for decades, and they really know what WWE is capable of when the quality of the product is top-notch. So there's a lot of frustration from fans, and I like to compare it to if you're cheering for your sports team but they never win. You still want to support them even if they're not doing well. And that's the thing about WWE. We're all fans. We all love it for one reason or another. And we're passionate about it. And when we see it's not as great as it can be, we get frustrated and we vent about it. And Charlotte and Becky, yeah, the storytelling could be better. But maybe there is a grand plan. I don't think so, but you never know with WWE. And even if there isn't, there's not much we can do about it. This one comes from Rollins versus Styles, please. Hey Aaron, I know it's early in her career, but with all she has accomplished so far, would you consider Charlotte to already be the greatest women's superstar of all time? I am actually planning to do a top women's superstars in WWE history video, just like I did one for the male superstars a few weeks back. So stay tuned to that on the NoDQ.com YouTube channel. Charlotte is getting up there. I think when it's all said and done, she very well could go down as the greatest female superstar of all time. She's only got time. History is still being written with her. We still don't know what she is going to accomplish in her career. But so far, if she keeps up the pace that she's at right now, I think there's a very realistic chance she'll be number one someday. I'm not going to tell you who I think is number one right now because I want you to watch that video that I will be producing over the next couple weeks on NoDQ.com. But I will say Charlotte is getting up there, and she's well on her way to being top 5 for sure, maybe number 1 when it's all said and done. Got this one here from They See Me Rollins. What WWE cliche annoys you the most? Where do I begin? Mine is their mentality that just because someone is small, that means they can't fight and everyone can beat them up. Also, Kevin Dunn's shaky camera, it drives me nuts. The shaky camera one is definitely up there. I think Michael Cole saying the big dog and just the buzzwords. I really don't like the buzzwords because WWE does it constantly and it just feels so forced and not organic. I know WWE is a business. Again, they're thinking from a business standpoint. Throw those buzzwords out there as much as possible so it'll stick in people's head. It's marketing 101. But it's just annoying. I'd rather see more art and less business in WWE. They're already making a ton of money, but, you know, they're not going to do that. They're thinking business first, art, pleasing the fans, being creative. That's all secondary. But yeah, the announcers with their little buzzwords, the WWE Universe, it's boss time, every single character has to have a nickname, the Architect, the Destroyer, Lashley. Actually, I think that was an Impact Wrestling name for him. But yeah, that one is definitely at the top of my list. And just like I've said before, the format of the shows, the contract signings, having a guy come out for a promo, get interrupted, and then that turns into a tag team match. All those little things add up, and all of them just, I get fed up with it, and it definitely tries my patience. Got this one here from WWE Dayton, Ohio guy. I don't understand why WWE can't just kill off the predictable, generic Hell in a Cell, Elimination Chamber, and TLC events in order to make these international events more like actual pay-per-view style events instead of a glorified no title change house show. I've seen people calling the Super Showdown and the Crown Jewel in Saudi Arabia glorified house shows, but people have to keep in mind the Saudi Arabia show is making more money for WWE than WrestleMania. Is that really a glorified house show? But I agree with you 100%. I think for storyline purposes, it's way better to not have mandatory themed pay-per-views like Hell in a Cell where you have to do a Hell in a Cell match because you have a pay-per-view called Hell in a Cell. It would make a lot more logical sense to organically build up towards a Hell in a Cell match when a storyline calls for it. However, going back to earlier, these questions all have a common theme. It's Vince's decision and it's business. WWE feels having a pay-per-view called Hell in a Cell is marketable, so that's why they do it. Does it make creative sense? No. But again, it's all about business. WWE trying to generate as many dollars as possible. And sometimes that means compromising the creativity of the product, which sucks, but not much we can do at this point. Everything I say, everything the other fans out there say, it all falls on deaf ears for the most part. This one comes from King Turbonius. Do you think WWE will ever bring back the Armageddon 6-man Hell in a Cell match? I would love to see a multi-man Hell in a Cell. I miss those. And I think that's the only one in WWE history with 6 people. I know there's been a couple of tag team ones. I know DX fought Vince and Shane and Big Show. That one was really fun. The Usos versus New Day, while I disagree with WWE about it being top 5, it was still a really good match. So I do like the multi-man Hell in a Cell matches, and I do want to see more of them. I say why not? People remember that one fondly. Now I know why WWE doesn't do it, because they feel it's too much of a train wreck, too many guys, and it's too much. You know, when we have these triple threat matches, or even the 5 or 6 person ladder matches, you have 4 guys for the most part laying on the outside dead while the 2 guys in the ring are doing their spots. WWE doesn't like to have a bunch of different things happening at once because they feel it's just too out of control, too much of a mess. But I like it personally. I love that Hell in a Cell match at Armageddon. Very underrated match in my opinion. And I would love to see another 6-person match, and for them to try and figure out a way to do it without the guys being dead for the most part, where you can do spots with all the guys and keep it interesting. It's a lot of work, and I think that that's maybe a big factor why we don't see it, because it would take a lot of timing and camera angles being at the right place at the right time, and the referees and all the communication. You got to have all the parts working together for it to really work to its maximum ability. But yeah, I would definitely like to see it again. This one comes from Callie. Would Brock Lesnar be as popular and successful today if WWE had not prevented him from going to Impact Wrestling after the NFL prospects fell through? If he was in TNA, he may have never joined UFC and garnered as much success. Well, I think it would have been very unlikely that Brock Lesnar would have gone to Impact Wrestling. As much as Dixie Carter was paying some of those guys, I think Brock would have just had too much of an asking price for TNA. Even when TNA was at its peak, I don't think Lesnar ever really was considering a run with TNA. I know there was that issue where WWE was trying to prevent him from working for other wrestling promotions, and he still went to New Japan, and I think he fought it, stating, you know what, I have to be able to make a living for myself. And then, of course, he went into the direction of UFC. But I think TNA would have been a long shot, even if it was an option for him. I don't think they would have been able to meet his price. Got this one here from It's the Costanza. Don't you think they should have chosen the color black instead of the cane red for the new Hell in a Cell color change? Maybe the black was temporary, or maybe the red was temporary, but black would have been better since the Elimination Chamber is black anyway. How about just leaving the cage the way it was? I'm with the attitude that if it's not broken, don't fix it. I think the red looked very tacky, and I much prefer just the traditional gray steel cage. I'm fine with that. Don't change it. No need to. I hope this was a one-time experiment. Next year they go back to the regular cage. But again, it doesn't really matter if Vince wanted the change. If it was his call, which it probably was, then that's what they're going to do, and it's going to be up to what Vince thinks. If he wants to keep the red cage, then guess what? We're going to keep the red cage. That's just the way it is. But, black, whatever. I'm just fine with the traditional gray steel cage. This one comes from Bazinga. JD mentioned on his podcast that Cyborg and Ronda Rousey should close WrestleMania this year. Want to know your opinion on this, Cyborg Rousey or Flair Rousey? Flair Rousey. I'm not that familiar with Cyborg, but the thing is, Ronda Rousey was probably the biggest female superstar in UFC history, and she came in and she has exceeded expectations. Cyborg, I'm guessing, is not nearly as big of a star as Ronda Rousey. Now, I'm not a big UFC expert, but I sense she doesn't have that name value. And for WrestleMania, I think you're best off. As it is, Ronda Rousey is already a part-time. She is becoming more full-time as a superstar, really, because she's doing the house shows and she is appearing on Raw every week. So she is almost becoming a regular now. Maybe at some point you could do that match, but I think for this coming WrestleMania, I think it's best to do Ronda versus the top female WWE superstar, which will probably be Charlotte. To me, that's the match to do. Maybe down the line, you could bring in Cyborg or one of the other female UFC superstars if Ronda continues to be successful. But I don't think I would do that match just yet. Even if Cyborg's up for it, I would wait on it. I would do Charlotte versus Rousey first at this coming year's WrestleMania. Got this one here from Demon Ninja. I just heard that WWE is had a secret talk with Impact TNA. Do you think it is for some of the tape library or is something even bigger? Well, TNA is denying, or excuse me, Impact Wrestling is denying that it's anything significant, that they're just having business talks. I'm not going to say that Impact could be sold because every time we predict something like that, it never happens. So I'm just going to say no. It has nothing to do with a sale. It has nothing to do with WWE acquiring the tape library. I think they're just talking about future business relationships. Maybe Impact wants to lease more footage to WWE or vice versa. WWE wants to buy some of the footage rights. There could be any number of just minor business things that they want to work out and just have a good business relationship. Impact Wrestling's not competing with WWE, so WWE doesn't really see them as a threat. So I think we'll continue to see them work something out. If WWE wants to use TNA footage for a DVD project, they have a good working relationship, and it works out for all parties involved. That'll wrap it up for this edition of NoDQ Video. Thank you all for watching and supporting NoDQ.com. Stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest, and I will see you guys next time.